Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The Real Brad Lea is dropping
What it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, as you are aware, because I only bring you the good stuff, I got a real treat for you. Former NFL player turned transformational identity shift coach, Anthony Trucks. What's happening?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be twins. Folks, if you guys haven't heard of Anthony, go check him out at Anthony Trucks on Instagram. He's got a podcast called Aw Shift.
Mm-hmm.
Trust Your Hustle is his first book, A Life Forged by Fire. And then he's got a blog out there talking about the real shift. Everything's about identity shifting.
Yeah, man. The entire world's all about it. We're doing it right now without anybody trying to do it. The world's changing, man. So who you are is literally just being kind of uprooted as we speak.
And a lot of people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They don't really have an identity. No. You notice that?
Well, you know, I don't know if they don't have it. They have one that they didn't intentionally create.
It's a negative identity.
Oh, yeah. It does. Well, yeah, you can call it a negative one if
That's
they don't
what
have what they want.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because there's a lot of people, they don't know who they are. They don't know what they stand for.
Yeah.
They're confused. They're lost. They don't have any self-worth, self-value. They value other people's opinions more than their own.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a cause of failure. Now, you've had your, doses of failure, yeah?
A little bit.
Let's hear the story.
Oh, man, how far back you want to go?
Man, as far back as you want, but ultimately, like somewhere between being placed in foster care and winning.
Oh, well, there's some stuff in there. I got a weird story, man. No, I was given away at 3 in the foster care. So I started my life with that feeling most people have of like, what the hell do I do? Nobody cares about me. Like feeling like a complete failure. And yeah, man, I went through a system that at the time was not good for people, like not good for little kids, because there was no videos back then. There was no social media. So like I got beaten and starved and tortured in different homes. By the time I was 6, I'd been through like 3 years of crazy. Ended up with a family, which is my family now. So I'm the only black person in an all white, really poor family. So I grew up in a lot of weird identity of like, who the hell is Anthony? At 14, got adopted, got to do something that was unique, got to play football, sucked at first, figured it out after a couple of years, got a college scholarship to Oregon, met my fiance in high school, but met my real dad at 21, had my first son at 20 years old in college. After college, got done, I got a chance to play in the NFL. Stayed in 3 years, got hurt in my 3rd year with the Steelers. They went on to get a Super Bowl ring, and I got to sit home and watch with a bad shoulder. And then I had to figure out, man, what I do with my life. So I came home, and legitimately, the best way to say is I broke my life. So coming home, man, you don't know who you are anymore. So there's no football Anthony anymore. I started this gym business. I want to figure out, like, hey, how do I give back with what I know? My degree's in kinesiology, so did that. But that sucks. I didn't know business. I was just this college, NFL football player come out trying to start a business. Had 2 more kids, so I got twins. So now I got 3 kids. I'm 26 years old. I got a business. 9 months in, I get some guy rolling up in a Harley, hands me an envelope that says, you're being evicted in 2 weeks. So I've got all my money into this gym business. I got this house I can't pay the mortgage for. I got a wife who's pissed. Not only that, I got a wife who then steps out on me. And so I have like this, I'm dealing with a wife, I had an affair, and I got this kid situation. I'm not the football guy. I'm now out of shape. Like at the time, I was, former NFL guy, but I had these sweatshirts I would wear with my company's brand. I just kind of covered the belly up, you don't want anybody to see it. And man, I got to a point where everything that made Anthony, my identity was just gone. There's no part of me that I recognized. And that's my dark, man, my bottom. Because literally gets to the point where like, if this is life post-football, why am I here? Like this isn't something that I'm going to enjoy. So I wanted to check out, thankfully didn't. And then, man, I go into what I call my fog years of just like go through the motions. When stuff hits the fan, you just go through the motions. You survive each day. Did a whole lot of that. My mom, unfortunately, when I was 14, she got diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So in 2014, my mom passed away from MS. And it was this really interesting moment where I kind of had to figure out, like, what is this I'm doing with my life? Because what's crazy is foster kids, 75% of prison inmates in America right now are former foster kids. 50% of the homeless population, former foster kids, and like less than 1% of us graduate from college. So when I look at my life, the reason I'm different is because of this woman and what she did. And so I realized I got to find something to kind of push her memory forwards. And a buddy of mine had made a statement years before. He was like, hey, man, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people without knowing it. It's like this seed of maybe there's something that could be useful in the crazy of my life I could extract. And in that moment, my mom kind of made me start thinking about doing so. And then fast forward from 2014, I started figuring things out, fixed a lot of my life, man. I'm now back with my ex-wife after 3 years divorce, an amazing marriage. It's a long conversation if you want to go into that one. My kids are happy and healthy. I got a thriving business. I'm in shape. Man, life is good. I've crossed some finish lines. And so now what I do is go back and teach people how to do the exact same thing. And I found the one unique thing I got in this world that is oddly different from most people, just the navigation of my identity in times that I needed to, and doing all the bad stuff and wrong stuff and figuring it out. So I just kind of shortcut the process for people now.
So to do that, we got to go back a little bit.
There's a lot back there, man. I told you.
Well, number one, when you played in the NFL,
Yeah.
first of all, was it Oregon U of O?
University of Oregon. Go Ducks, man.
So I grew up in Eugene.
Did you?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Sure.
I didn't know that.
And then you played for the NFL.
Yeah.
Did you get paid?
Oh, yeah, I got paid.
Paid big? Because
Not big.
then you had no money later.
Oh, yeah. No,
Couldn't
I
pay
put
rent.
Put all into the business, man. So I came back, and so in the NFL, it's what's called practice squad. So you get maybe $80,000 a year, and it's going back to the family.
So you weren't getting like
No,
multi-million
it
dollar
wasn't
contracts.
big. But then what happened is I came home and I got a good check. I got like $150,000 check, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start a gym business. And so that's where the money went. I was like, I'm gonna make it back, and I'm gonna build it up. It's to be great because I'm the former NFL guy. And all this kind of hope is a bit. I signed myself up for like a $13,000 a month lease. I'm getting the equipment in, and I don't know anything about business. I didn't know about leads. I didn't know about, converting people. I didn't know about how to do a tour. I knew nothing. But I was like, hey, I'm the former NFL guy in my hometown. Everybody's going to want to train with me. Nope. I'm just a guy. I'm a guy used to play football, and so it went downhill pretty quick.
Yeah, that's almost a sobering realization.
Oh, yeah.
When you think,
Yeah.
shit, dude, I'm the NFL guy.
And nobody
then,
cares.
Yeah, like so. And
Yeah.
now the wife steps out on you.
Yeah, man.
What happened there?
Dude.
And you're back with her.
Yeah.
Which again shows that you've obviously made some sort of repairs
some
to the
growth.
identity. You have to
yeah.
grow to get to do that.
You know what's funny is don't get me wrong. In the moment, it was tough. No lie. There was a moment when I shot some dude in his leg. There's a whole lot of there's some weird stuff in my story,
what?
bro. Yeah. And it wasn't like, oh, there you go. Yeah.
I've been waiting to use that.
I don't typically talk about it, man. But I say that to say things got bad.
Do you blame yourself though?
There's parts of me that do. And I don't know if I would say blame, but give myself credit. And I think people fail to understand what that means. And so I was on Tom Bilyeu's podcast, and I read in the comments some guys like, oh, he lost me when he said he got back with his wife who cheated on him. I was like, that guy didn't listen long enough to the podcast. Because what I explain is we were 16 years old, and I grew up with her. We didn't know who we were without each other, right? And I'm not saying the way that she did what she did was right, but damn it was almost doomed to go there because we didn't know what we were doing. 3 kids, a business, football. She's got a career. We didn't grow as humans. So she went looking for something for herself. It wasn't to maliciously hurt me, right? Unfortunately, I got the back product of just dealing with this craziness. Now, fast forward, to 3 years when we started having conversations, we didn't get back together as the same people. She has massively grown as a woman. She is an incredible human being. I love this woman to death. And for me, I had to grow, and here's where I had to grow. I was at this gym 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. My wife at the time had 2 newborn twins and a 4-year-old. By herself with some guy down the street, gone all day long. He's not even paying bills because I wasn't paying bills. I wouldn't stick with that guy. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Usually when people get cheated on, they have to look at themselves. What did you not deliver? Now, some of them are just scandalous.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, I would say, when this type of thing happens, it's because of what you're talking about. You were gone. She needed someone. Someone could have made her feel good coming in and out of the house.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, your emotions go crazy.
And it's a wrap. Yeah. But the guy, to be honest, the guy she was with, it's a weird thing too. The guy she was with.
Don't tell me you're all friends now.
No.
Okay,
we're not. I wouldn't say we're friends.
I was gonna say, dude, you got some reserve in you.
Yeah, that's. I found him in my house at one point, and I broke my pinky finger on his head. Right here. There's some weirdness in this story. Yeah, but I'm a guy. I'm still a human being. And
sure.
I say these things because they're real, but it's not how I operate. It's a very interesting switch. It has to be a switch. When you're in the emotion of these things, you find someone in your house, right? Or someone comes to your door approaching you, like these things. I didn't go looking for the person with like the gunshot. He came to my home drunk to like break into my house.
That's
like,
my girl now.
yeah, it's
one of those deals.
Weird, yeah, kind of a weird situation. The back end of our relationship, kind of coming back together. But what it was is, I got to a realization of what she did was a crappy choice. I take nothing from that, nor does she. Like, we're not saying a justification for what she did. However, there's a realization of it took two people to get to the point of a decision, even feeling like it had to be made. So that's kind of where I take my credit for it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that sucked. Now, fast forward, like if she had never taken ownership or taken blame or had remorse for what she did, we're not here right now. But she massively has, to the extent we talk about it openly, because I find that this isn't something new. There's a whole, Ashley Madison's an entire site about people.
Stupid, dude.
Right? So these things happen, but no one talks about it.
Not to mention, when people do this, they're failing to recognize the potential opportunity for fatal attraction, psycho type shit from happening. Yeah. And then what if you would have killed the dude? Now you're in prison.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the funny thing, so that was like she had gone, she had a couple guys she, was dating at the time, and one guy she'd lived with, she moved out with, or moved to somewhere else. I had a girl live with me at one point too. We broke up and she moved out. And this window of time was towards the back end, probably about maybe 6 months before we got back together. She was kind of like going through her growth phase, and she had left her house to go to my house one night. And I started getting calls from her boyfriend. I know his ex-boyfriend at the time. It was a guy, as far as I knew, they were still together. It was like, where's she at? I'm like, I don't know where she's at. I don't know what you're talking about. She ends up at my house later. Well, the guy, I guess, they had broke up. He had gone to her house like the month before and drug her out of the house. So a kidnapping warrant was out for him in this city. Super weird. And a guy comes to my house drunk and trying to come into the house. I show him like I have a weapon. I'm like, you need to leave. Like, you're not going to come to my home. And told him multiple times, and he ends up shoving the door open, and I shoot him in his leg. Funny thing, I don't know if it's funny, but like you said, I'd be in jail. The police officer said that based on his warrant, his intoxication, him entering the premises, I could have shot him dead and been justified. And I don't think that, for me, the weight of that, there's no way I could bear that. I'm not built for that kind of stuff, man. But
See, I'm a weirdo like that.
You would do it?
Well, I mean, not maliciously, but like sometimes,
protection-wise.
Sometimes when I'm sleeping, if I hear a noise, I'm kind of secretly hoping it's someone creeping in my daughter's rooms.
Yeah.
Where I could just pop them. But I think that's because I play too much Call of Duty. I really don't want to see people get hurt. But if you're trying to hurt my children,
different story.
It's almost like a fantasy. Let's see ya.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I've probably never told this publicly, so you get the first hear. I've always told my wife, I want to know what the experience would be to take a life, but not out of joy, just to understand it. And it's not to just take it randomly, but someone that I guess deserves it, as I would say. What society would gauge as this person deserves it. And just so I know the preciousness of the feeling. It's not this desire, like I'm not any way going to act on it. But like you're saying, if someone comes to my house, there is no second guessing. Like I've told my kids, zombie apocalypse, I'm a different human. Like, unfortunately, like if it's sheer survival, there's a child and it's food for my family or the kid, like, sorry, man, that kid's got to go. And it's a weird dynamic to take your mind to, I think. But I get what you're saying. Like, it's weird. Yeah, so that situation, I didn't want him to leave the planet, though.
Well, then you said you wanted to check out. That obviously indicates suicide. Check out.
Yeah. That was well before this, though. That was
that was before it.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is a moment that happened like probably 3 years after that. So 2011 is when like I literally had this. I went to a buddy's UFC fight at his house. Now, everybody in my family and everything, like my close friends knew, everybody else in the family didn't know. My best friend, Jason, I went to this UFC fight, and like it was one of those moments where like I was out of it. Everything was like just there. The business wasn't doing very well. I'm not feeling good about myself. I'm arguing with my wife. She can't determine if she wants to stay with me or be with this new guy. I'm still like realizing that I'm not the football guy. So I'm sitting at this UFC fight. And 10 o'clock rolls around, the fight's over. They started like 6 or 7. I was told that I never moved or talked to anybody for 3 straight hours. I just sat and stared at the screen. And so when I walk out of the house to get in my car, my best friend walks up, says 5 words, says, "Aunt, this is your reality." And I think what he was saying, and I know what he was saying at the moment, was like I hadn't quite accepted all of what this was. Like he's like, I know there's a lot going on, but he's like, dude, this is your reality. Like you could tell. And I got in the car, and it was just like this wave of pain. And like neuroscience will tell you that sometimes the brain can't differentiate between physical and emotional pain. It just feels the same. It was this weight of like, I can't make this stop. So I shot a text off to my friends and family. I said, please tell my kids who their father was. And legitimately got in a car and I just drove off. Drove for an hour, looked for stores that were open that would sell rat poison. None were open. And man, I parked in a little spot in a gas station in a town called Stockton, California. And I just sat there. And I guess the wave of the pain kind of dissipated a little bit. And the police ended up tracking my phone with GPS, and they come into the car, and I talked to them like, I'm fine. And my wife and I, because she had called, my wife and I are, we're just having an argument. She's freaking out. And so like, they just go home. So I go home. And that's when like it just hit the bottom. I drive up to my house. There's 30 people in front of my house that are all out in the city scouring, trying to find Anthony. It was like even more shame on top of that. And I remember the police, like they didn't come. Sorry, the ambulance came. They do 5150s. And so I wasn't crazy, but they're like, "Do you want to get in?" I was like, "I would like to get in just so I don't have to deal with these people right now." So I got in. They're like, "This is the easiest in our career, 5150. No one gets in the vehicle. Like they usually have to like strap them down." I'm like, I'm just not. I don't know how to face this. My dad's there, my wife, my kids, all my friends, people from the gym, like all these people. It's my hometown, and I didn't want to face anybody. I remember just like that weekend was a long, hard weekend because like my wife comes and gets from the hospital, and I go home, and I'm just like, how do you get back on your feet? How do you go back to life when like that's happened? And nothing's really changed. And that was a hard space to be in. And I don't wish that upon anybody, not even my worst enemy, just that kind of like emptiness and worthlessness. And so I did the only thing I knew how to do, go back to work as if nothing happened. And that was the fake it till you make it to the fullest. Because when people know what's going on, like it's like, how do you just face it? And there's people that took years to even bring the conversation up. One of my buddies, Richie, the dad came back, took me to the back. I played high school football with him. He's a guy that worked at my gym at the time. He's an officer now, great guy. And he took me in the back of the gym in a little private office. He's like, "Hey, first off, don't you ever do anything like that in your life again." And the second thing he said was the thing that really kind of planted a seed that has me in the place of what I do in life now. And he says, that's what I told you a moment ago. Like he said, there's a life you've been living that our community has seen you live. You've been an inspiration to more people than you know. He's like, "You're my hero." It was really weird to have like a friend say that. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, you're my hero. And so the thought of that was like this, man, I'd accidentally throughout living my life created something that people saw as this inspiration to them, accidentally. And that was the seed that was, well, what if I did it on purpose? And that was a seed that was never watered till my mom passed away, unfortunately. But that was the one where it's like, all right, it sounds good, but I am in no place to be talking to anybody about life right now. And so that was the start of an interesting journey, man, to get back to a better place internally so I could create a better life externally.
What if I did it on purpose? I ask myself that quite often about things. I wonder if there's any like trait in somebody that, because I guarantee you there's someone listening to that right now. I say that to myself all the time. Like, what if I did that on purpose? Like, damn, I did pretty good without even trying. What if I did that on purpose? What do you think the value of doing stuff on purpose as opposed to, half-assing it or just randomly
or intentionally? There's a statement that in my work, it's like who you are being is also becoming. So we look at like the realm, I talk about identity a lot, right? It's who are you being? My identity is who I am and what I'm doing when I'm not thinking about who I am or what I'm doing. How you just do things in flow. People probably look at you like, how do you do so much? You're like, I don't know, it's just my Wednesday morning, right? So when you're unintentionally doing things or halfway doing them, you are being somebody. And all those actions lead to you becoming somebody in time. No matter what that is, you're headed somewhere, but a lot of people don't know where that place is. And so what I really like to focus on, that's kind of the majority of my work, is like, all right, well, the things we are doing, how we are being every day, who are you consciously becoming? Because I wasn't thinking about that at the time when I was just going through my life. I wasn't thinking about who I was being, but I was becoming somebody. So when I say, what if I did it on purpose? Back then it was like, what if I just tried to help people, right? But that is a new way for me to be. I'm being different. And that means I was becoming somebody different. So that person that I wanted to be, that a person I find myself today, it's more so because of who I chose to be every day. And that comes through the times that are good, times that suck, all those little moments. It's not just like, hey, I feel like being this today, and then tomorrow I'm not that guy. It's like, who am I being every single day consistently? Because that's how you become something. So that's the difference.
Well, you seem to be kind of aware, kind of self-aware. How did you make those choices? Because I tell people all the time, when it boils down to it, it's really simple. It's a choice. Like you said, I chose to do this. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people keep finding themselves making poor choices. Yeah. And you can't get rich making poor choices.
Well, it feels good. They go off what feeling is. Feeling is the biggest, I think it's the biggest detriment to us, operating out of a space of feels. Feelings are always fleeting. What I always knew, and like even when I was in like my dark times, I knew that the things that I was doing that were right, they didn't always feel good. Like having like, finding like an issue where someone didn't get paid and I owe them an extra $1,000 but I'm broke. Well, for me, I could easily just not give it to them. They wouldn't even know the difference. But there's a certain way that I had to do something outside of how I felt in the moment. And I think people are making plans based on how they feel. They stop going towards something based on how they feel. It's hard. I don't want it feels hard. I don't want to do it anymore. They make excuses. They procrastinate. They tell you a bunch of reasons of why they can't do it, and they can feel better at night. And you believe it, but they know they didn't get it done. So a little part of them inside dies in the dark.
That's right.
And so for me, it's like I don't believe people need to operate off of feelings. For me, what was different was what needed to be done. Funny thing is, you ever heard of Landmark? Like that? So Landmark Forum, I did the Landmark Forum. I was the guy who, after like doing like 2 or 3 years of crazy, weird conversations, the guy that my wife had an affair with, I did go and have a conversation with him. We're not buddies, but
Was that part of Landmark?
No, it's this funny thing. I did all this before I got to Landmark. So when I got to Landmark, they were like, you got to go and dig up all these conversations. I was like, man, I don't have any more to do. I dealt with my father, who my real father, when I found him, told me he had no idea who I was, that I'd existed, apologized for not being there. 9 years later tells me, hey, I knew the whole time. I just don't know how to tell you. Then passed away from cancer. So I've got issues in that kind of rooted, and like having conversations there. I've got my real mom, who obviously put me into the world I was in. I got my wife at the time. I got a guy who burned me in business the first year, like stole thousands of dollars. It was one of the reasons I was in the hole in the first place. Then I got this guy, the affair guy, all these people. And I realized that some part of me knew I had to square up that darkness. I didn't know exactly how, so my only thought was like, shoot people text messages. And believe me, some like came with friends because they didn't know why the hell I'm calling them. Like, why are you calling me? Like, but I went and squared it up in a sense of not like relieving you of what you did, but like letting you know that I'm not going to carry this negative weight. Like for me, this is a forgiveness aspect so that I can move free past it. You figure out what you got to figure out with your own demons, but like having those conversations. So when I got to Landmark, they're like, go have them. Like, I already had them. I don't have any more. Like, you're lying. I'm like, no, I wish I was lying. I wish I could do in 3 days what took me 3 years. That would have been amazing. I'd have been so far more ahead.
So you inherently knew to do it, number one. Number two, people listening right now are probably thinking, well, how do you go square up
Yeah, well,
past demons? Like just calling them, texting them?
No, we met in person, eye to eye, man to man.
How do you know how to do that, though?
I think it was this.
Like let's say you dated a girl that you just treated like a $2 hooker.
Yeah.
And you hurt her and you're an asshole. Do you text her and say sorry? Do you meet up in person and bring her flowers? Or how do you square up stuff like that? Like why would you square up somebody's like the other guy?
Yeah.
How do you square that up?
So the way that when I say square it up, here's what this is actually the conversation worked out. So we were at a flag football, like we had played in this flag football league years ago. He played in it also. So it was kind of this thing where we were always around each other. It was always that weird energy, and like I didn't like it. So before one of the games, I just pulled him to the side. I was like, look, I can't live my life having this on me. I know that in the situation we were all involved in, I know that I had a fault in this way. And I described what I was doing. It's because I don't even know if he fully knew what was going on my side. He just knew that my wife was with him, right? So I owned up to an aspect that most people wouldn't expect a human to do. So whenever like I start these conversations, and I have started them, I own up in certain aspects to where I see a fault or I see something that could have been on me or the way I handled their interaction, because then it takes a little bit of a wall down. It's not a blame game anymore. Because when I blame you, you as a human being will rear up. Animals do it. It's a natural, instinctual thing. I'm going to put this wall up. I'm going to defend myself, defend my ego. But when I see you approach, but then like you kind of let yours down, like, okay, I'll put my arms down too. And so when I say square up, it kind of got to the moment of where like I'm going to tell you where I see this situation, where my fault was. It's interesting because it allowed him to do the exact same. He actually apologized. He's like, I was in a tough place at the time too. He's like, I never meant for that to happen to you, because even then he was doing it for his own needs, right? It wasn't like he was trying to hurt me. And I found out throughout my life, like looking back on the people who have wronged me, it's not something where none of them have ever intentionally tried to hurt me. What they've been doing is running their life without the identity that has the tools to do it correctly. So people like my own mom. My real mom had no idea how to be a parent. She had 4 kids. She's, poor, running the street, just doing craziness. She had no idea how to do what she was doing. So should I blame her for purposely making my life horrible in foster care? Like, no, it was other people. But do I hold that on her? Because she just didn't have the tools. And it's almost like a sense of, I don't want to say pity, but like almost of a sadness for the way that their life. Like sometimes I think sometimes the most revenge you can give somebody is to let them continue living their life. Like I found there's some dark people and like they may do some craziness and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let this go because your punishment of living your life is enough for me. Like knowing the darkness you got to go through. And so like I've been able to let a lot of people remove that kind of rent they take up in my head and in my heart by realizing, one, like it wasn't malicious to me. Two, like they're living their own life and that sucks for them as well. And three, most of the time they just were not given the tools to do it right.
Yeah, nobody knew. But you must square up. You got to go face the demons.
You got to go deal with it because then that's the being part of it, right? When you got this darkness. So, for example, if I had this always going on and never talked to anybody about my situation with the affair, would I be able to go on a stage or talk to you about this, like just be open, knowing that there's somebody somewhere that has something? I think that stops a lot of people. It's like I think some people have done some stuff they haven't owned, and so they're worried about getting a spotlight because then what if somebody comes and and says something or shows some light that nobody else knew? So I think for me, like part of it was if I wanted to help people, like I first need to get everything out, like the Eminem and 8 Mile, like I'm gonna tell you everything so you can't say anything to me. Like that was the thought, man. I'm gonna get everything out, kind of everything on the table, so I can go and just live free in the next stages of my life.
Dude, it's good that you like kind of accidentally knew what to do. A lot of that has happened to me where it's like looking back, I'm like, damn, I didn't know that I should have done that. I just accidentally did that or luckily did that. I always say that I'm lucky. Like I'm a lucky son of a bitch. It's crazy. So after all of this trauma and seriously, life smacking you, you eventually said, okay, screw it. What was the first steps you took?
Man, I sat on a couch in my little townhouse. So first off, the moment that really woke me up, I had got this big contract. So my gym was up and down for a lot of years. I got to this moment where my mom had passed away, and I'm a man of faith, and I'd gone far from my faith. And so like my mom had passed away, my gym lease was up. I didn't have to re-up the lease, and I got this $250,000 contract consulting just me with this large corporation. So I was like $220,000 in profit. I mean, owning a gym is not super profitable for me, at least. It wasn't new into the game and figuring out. So I was like, man, I got enough money to live for like 3 years off of this, like comfortably. So I was like, I'm gonna go and do the speaking thing and talk and share my story. So I'm doing that. In the beginning, you just do what everybody does. You start talking. Nobody understands the back end of the business of it all, right? So I'm just doing my thing and draining. And I get to 2016, and I was just doing my thing, traveling, speaking, like flying to the Bahamas, bringing women, like that kind of thing. And I remember I'd gone to Russia for a presentation, and I was, training like literally in a former Soviet, air hangar thingamajig where they put planes in, like 500 Russians at the same time with some weird microphone and big screens, and they don't even speak English. It was nuts. But one woman, kind of like, I got to know her, and so every night she came to the hotel. Is the best way I can explain it. For like a week, and it was just like this super just lustful physical thing. And I say it, and some people are like, oh, that's cool. At the time, I did think it was cool, and I remember I went home. It's like 2015, so 2016, she'd flown out. So it was New Year's she hung out. January 1st, 2016, I wake up, and I'm laying next to her, and I just remember I go to the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and it was just looking back at this guy that I just was disgusted with. Like I would never want my daughter to be with a guy like me or to know that I'm like this. I would never want my sons to be this way. I know my mom is rolling in her grave, knowing this is how I'm doing it. Like my God wouldn't let me into heaven. And so it was this weird moment where I had this level of shame that was enough for me to stop. So I literally swore off women. I pretty much was like celibate, like, except for like lotion, I had to do something. I'm a guy, bro. So, but yeah, man, I swore it off. But I spent a lot of time sitting on a couch, staring at a brown wall, having moments of just asking like, who are you? Because here's the one thing I had to realize, and this was the moment that it landed. I was the common denominator in all my problems. The gym not being well. I'm gonna get one. I like it, man.
I've been forgetting to drop those.
Oh,
there's
okay.
There's a bomb. A lot of people don't understand what you just said.
Yeah, but I'm the only one that's present in all of it. So the relationship, I wasn't a present father. I wasn't in shape. All this stuff was all on hand. Like I'm the one affecting every single thing. And so I had to sit with myself. And I remember like sitting on the couch staring at a wall. And I kind of use a metaphor of like a computer. We all use computers, right? And the computer comes and you open it up and it's all brand new and it has like this system and then there's an operating system. And as you use a computer more and more, you have like these updates that pop on the screen. Like, hey, do you want to update this system? And most people are like, man, I'm too busy. Snooze, I'll get it tomorrow. Hey, do you want to do it? Nah, snooze. And I keep snoozing everything. Well, after a while, the computer starts running slow. And then all of a sudden, I get that spinning wheel of death. And I can open in safe mode. I can go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to safe mode, get some stuff done, but it's not full functioning. So eventually you go, okay, I'm going to hit the button. I download and I wait for it. It's frustrating. And eventually like I upload and the system's running smooth again. Now we're good and all the programs run good again. In my life, the way that I look at it is we all have this operating system, our identity. And the programs are the things that we are affecting. It is a relationship. It's your health. It's your business. It's how you see things, right? And so for me, the best way I can explain it was in those moments, I was just downloading. What is going on? What is wrong? What do I got to work on? Right? So I get to download it all. And a lot of people sometimes will download. The hard part's to upload, to go into my life and take the actions that did not feel good, to have the conversation with people I didn't want to have, to make the change to the business I needed to make, to be able to cut clients off, spend more time with my kids, so which hurt my money. And so all these things became dynamics that realistically most people never ever do. And so that was the biggest part, was I just got quiet and I got to hang out with the guy I was avoiding. So most people, when things go wrong, they don't want to accept that. So what we do is we distract with drugs and money and men and women and party. We distract ourselves. We don't have to spend time with us. And then when you are alone, you realize like, I don't like this person. So you go back to it. So I forced myself to sit with this guy and get to know someone I did not like and why he was ticking that way. And it helped me figure out by I read books. I listened to what was going on. I just dug, man. I took the ego back. And then it kind of showed me things that I needed to work on for Anthony to be better. Not that the world would say, because they say, read more books and go work out. And that's the problem. People just absorb other people's recommendations. But that's their stuff. That was what worked for them. But you're different. You're a different operating system. And so when I did like the download and I wouldn't upload the actions, all of a sudden, I'm like this new operating smooth functioning computer. Because if you think about it, we're like these hardware. We wake up every day, hardware, body. But a lot of us are running off the Windows 95 for the operating system. We haven't grown past the way we do things or did things when we were teenagers. We haven't grown past the way that this relationship hurt me or that this career didn't pan out. So we're running these systems of our life with this darkness and this demon we talk about, and it trickles in ways you don't even see. Then you're shut off to opportunities and you don't want to have conversation with people and everything's negative and there's this weird view of the world, and the world's a mirror. Like how I show up in the world reflects right back to me. And so that was how I started, man, sitting on the couch, getting real quiet, getting real personal with someone, getting to know that guy. And then over time, being a person that I started to love more and more again. And people talk about the self-love concept. And I don't think that self-love is like self-love, hug yourself, right? But there's a level of like, I love Anthony. I'm sure you loved yourself too, but it's not this level like I love me and you aren't very good. It's more of like, when you think about someone that you'll show up for in the moments that are dark, if I don't respect you, I can't love you. When I don't do things I'm supposed to do, I lose respect for me. So I don't show up for me. Like if you think about someone you respect, love in the world, if they say, hey, Brad, can you be there at 9 a.m. to be able to get me? Oh, I got you. I'll get you. Take you to the airport, whatever you got to do. I got you, man. But if I don't love or respect you, like, I'm cool. Call somebody else. So for me, when I looked at what I was doing, I didn't respect myself. Therefore, I didn't love myself. Therefore, I didn't show up in the moments I needed to. So when I started showing up for myself, I got some respect for me. I got that hard workout in, man. I made those calls. I did that work. I showed up as a better father. Now you're a better guy. Now I respect me more. I love me more. I show up for me and I fight for me when I need to.
If someone's listening going, man, this sounds exactly like how I feel. What would you say real quick they could do to just start getting that headed in the right direction?
Man, own it. I have a statement. I usually have this little My Intent bracelet that says own your shift. It's very simple, like 3 words that you get it when you hear like own your shift, right? But the words can be uniquely used. It's one, first, own. A lot of people don't let the ego far back to own. They got something to work on. Like everybody, I'm good. I'm great. No, you're not. Like I got stuff to work on. We all got stuff to work on. So
Sure.
own there's something you got to work on. 2 is your, which means if you Mark Manson's book, Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, right? He's real big on like, it may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to work on it. Like, whatever happened in your life, it wasn't my fault I was in foster care. It wasn't my fault my dad didn't show up. It wasn't my fault completely that my wife did what she did, right? But it's my responsibility to fix my life. No one's coming with a cape to save me. So, oh, he's going to hit it. Yeah, baby.
Well, people need to pay attention after I hit those bombs. That's like the keys of the whole. I mean, the whole conversation's key. However, the bombs are like, dude, pay attention because no one's coming to save you.
Oh, nobody is.
I always tell people, listen, you want me to introduce you to the dude that can literally change your game, triple your business, or whatever we're talking about. And they're like, yeah, please. And I say, go into that bathroom over there, shut the door, and look around, and you'll see him.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, when you see him, make friends with him.
Yeah.
Like freaking build that relationship, bro, because that's the dude or dudette that can help you.
That's it.
And that's the only one that literally can.
Yeah. It's the only one, man. Even if people do come and help you, like I'm not going to save somebody. If I got two people in the ocean, I'm not saving the person swimming away from shore. I'm saving the person coming in. So you got to start swimming into shore, man. Save yourself. Like it's a big piece. It's your responsibility, and you got to do the work. And then the last part's the shift part. There's a lot of people that know there's something up and know it's their responsibility, and like, I don't want to do it. So they don't do it. And they just float around life, and the problem is you are always someone to someone, and when you don't start working on your life, you're affecting somebody. Guys who have kids, women who have kids, a sibling, your parents, right? When you know there's something going on, it's your job to work on it. You just get too lazy to fix your life, and you don't shift, like actually as a verb, like shift how you see things, shift how you do things. You're just wasting away.
Do you think that might be because deep down they're unaware that they don't really respect and like themselves?
I don't think anybody's unaware of it. I think people, if they consciously sat with it just for a moment, like if it's just people who are in those funky places, they're neurotic. You can tell a person when you're around them who isn't settled inside. Like I go to soccer games at my kids, and I'm sitting with the parents, and I can tell the guys who come and hang out who are just not settled inside. And because they're always talking and they're neurotic, they got to have some weird thing. They got to tell jokes. It's like, dude, just sit and watch the game. And I noticed that it's how it is. You're laughing because you know what I'm talking about. And what happens is those people, they know, but they're never quiet enough to like sit and just be without calling a friend or watching a game. So like if you don't know, just sit. Set aside an hour to go somewhere leave your phone behind. Go to a park and sit. If you enjoy being there with just you, you're good. If you don't, you got some digging to do.
Yeah, and 99.9 have digging to do.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to this, I'm like, dude, this guy's freaking awesome. Now, they find you. You can find him at AnthonyTrucks.com. You can find him, of course. On Instagram is at Anthony Trucks, just like multiple trucks.
Yeah.
Plural. You can go check out his first book, Trust Your Hustle. And then you got another book coming out pretty soon.
I do in May, yeah.
What is it?
Identity Shift.
Identity Shift.
Yeah.
You got this whole shift thing codified.
I do, man. I'm gonna play with it because you know, change is heavy, dude. Like it changed the thought of it. As human beings, everything that's been good or bad in our life has always been from change, but it's a heavy word. Whereas shift is an interesting thing because if you like think about like a car, and this is a metaphor I've used for a while. I haven't talked about it in a while. You might like this one. You a car guy? You ever drove stick shift? Clutch?
Sure.
Beautiful. So you know when like you put the car in first gear, you press the gas, and like you can speed up, but after a while that engine's rev. You're tacking it out, and you can't go any faster. Give it all you got. Can't go any faster.
Not only that, you'll blow up your engine.
Exactly. You get frustrated. You blow up. What do? You shift to second gear. Now with this, like the same car goes faster. You just shift it a little bit, but the tack goes down, like the revs go down. You can conserve the energy. Engine doesn't blow up. You go faster. So for a lot of people, like the shift, if they think about it, one, it's not as heavy as change. Just shifting a few things can make a massive change on how you actually end. We'll call it how you go. An airplane, 1 degree trajectory change can take you thousands of miles difference in the end, right? That little change, but also when you shift, it allows you to give like less overall willpower energy, but you go faster for longer. Everybody has another gear they have to shift into, but most people aren't realizing like, oh, I'm in first gear. I'm running hard, but I haven't made any shifts in my life to go faster, to alleviate the stress and the pain. And so, yeah, they just run their life like that. And eventually people just blow up.
They need to shift their perspective sometimes, too.
Oh, there's 6 core aspects to your identity. There's beliefs, thoughts, actions, your habits, your mindset, and your personal pride. And so those are the areas you shift. And there's ways to do it. It's funny because you're talking about the book, The Hard Way, right? I have what's called the hard formula, and it's habits, actions, reactions, and drivers. And when you unpack those in those 6 areas, it actually starts to create a clear picture of who you are, but then how to craft who you want to be and how to be better so you can become better over time.
Now, if someone's listening like, dude, I want to do this. This sounds like something I could really benefit from. Do you have a course or like where do people go?
We have full coaching programs on this. So this is the things I talk about. I think the one difference between me and most people is like I want to make sure I can give you the concept and then give you the structure. So like I'm a big like frameworks guy. I get drawing pictures. Football probably did this for me a lot. My brain works in images and flow. So we created what's called the shift method. And it's a very specific process that's rooted in psychology and neuroscience, how we do things. And so what we do is we go through 3 stages: see, shift, sustain. And the coaching programs go in alignment with those. We see, we shift, we sustain. So it's how we work people through. And it's all based on very specific exercise you do that involve yourself, outside sources, structuring things. But then it goes to like the very back end of it. It's about how do we execute consistently to become this person. So as much as it's like I can give you lofty ideas, I'm a get to work guy, man. I'm a football player. Like we got to go out and I can't sit the room and watch film all day. Put a helmet on, let's go to work. That's how I make the plays. And so for me, it's about, we talk it all out, right? We do all the thinking, but then now it's like, let's go and play the game of life. And I hit this really unique moment and spot where we now get to work. And that's where the things need to matter the most. That's where everything changes and adjusts. And it's when people are presented with new things that they want to tuck away and fall apart. So our coaching programs give a ton of support and a ton of accountability to guide people through that entire process. On the back end, you come out and it's like somebody different. If you think about any like successful person, if you ask them, like, ask yourself, who were you back when you were unsuccessful? Serious question.
Jack off, full of shit, selfish, out. I think the shift for me came when I started literally trying to help other people. Again, I always say I accidentally did that. I didn't know I was supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, when I heard it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, help others to get what you want. Like, dude, I got to get what I want. And if I'm helping others to get what I want, aren't I really helping myself? So there was a time where I just literally helped somebody else because I wanted to help the person that had nothing to do with me. Mm-hmm. And it was like, dude, that was gratifying.
Yeah.
And that's when it shifted for me. That's when like I was chasing money and now money was chasing me. And it's been good ever since. You just got to keep kind of remembering and or realigning.
Yeah. And what it ends up being is you were someone different back then.
100%.
Being someone different.
I wasn't worth success.
Yeah. That's
technically.
I get what you mean. Yeah, it's in there. But that's the thing is I ask people, and it's always that kind of statement. What it boils down to is like, oh, and some people have simply said, you know what? I was somebody different back then. So like that in and of itself, like it's always been this clue, I think, hidden in plain sight for the world of like, if you ask people like, oh, somebody different back then. Okay, well, there was someone different back then. There's somebody new now. And if I ask some people now who have been unsuccessful about a different time, like, oh, I was someone different back then. Like, then that means there's progress you can make.
And you'll probably be different 5 years from now if you're living. Mm-hmm. I think it's a constant change.
Oh, it's always change, it's moving. That's kind of the beauty of life, man. Nothing's consistent except change.
But people want to resist it, and I think that's where they go wrong.
Well, it's scary. Look at now, the world.
What's so scary, though?
Well, I think it's the unknown. If people...
you know what I said the other day on a podcast? I think we're afraid of the unknown because we're created by it.
Oh, I like that.
Well,
we are.
Well, you said you're a man of faith.
Yeah.
People say, oh, no, it's not the unknown. You ever see them? You ever talk to them? You don't know for sure. You have to have faith that there is an unknown there.
It has to be. That's the rather read the
and
word
that's
belief
who created
exists.
us.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, we fear the unknown.
Yeah.
Maybe like inherently.
Well, there's even if you think about the kind of even biblical aspects, like there is a clear connection. We don't know all this stuff, but I don't think our brains could hold like the greatness of everything that there is, right? So it has to be unknown. So I get that. It's 100%. I agree with that, to be totally honest. I think it runs in this place where far too many people are stuck at this place of I look like a cave. Like I look at people looking at life as this opportunity, is like this dark cave. They know there's treasure in there, but there's also a monster. And the problem is they don't have faith in themselves. They haven't overcome monsters in the past, or they don't have, like they look at all the negatives, so they're forgetting about the sword on their back, so they don't enter the cave.
Well, they got to remember there's a toothless monster.
Yeah. Yeah,
because those monsters can't harm you.
Yeah, honestly, unless you're going to die doing this thing, you're going to come out stronger, man. Like the monster's not going to kill you. It's going to make your day bad, maybe.
It's toothless.
It ain't going to kill you.
It ain't going to kill you.
Yeah.
Dude, I had to get 50 years old to like learn this shit. So like this is just part of living if one is paying attention.
Yeah. Wisdom doesn't come from just living life, man. It comes from seeing life as you live it.
Well, yeah, because again, like you're I don't know if woke is the right word, but like you're aware, you're very aware. This shit right here, I would tell everybody, hey, you better go get in the shift program. Sounds like, because this is literally the type of information that most people never grasp. They just go through life, problem after problem, ceiling after ceiling, complaint after complaint, you know, whining and bitching, and they don't realize that this is literally how you stop that.
Yeah.
And even me telling them right now, listening to this, most people will not like just go, okay, let me try that. Why? Because they're not aware that like it's not really that hard. Thankfully, someone like you's codified it. I call it codifying. You call it framework.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, when you have acronyms and processes and you start with this and you go do these exercises and here's the tactical, like thankfully someone codifies it because it's not just fluff when it's codified.
Yeah.
I'm more fluffy, meaning I'll give out kick-ass advice like you, but when someone goes, yeah, but how do I square up and find myself? I go, I don't know, bro. You just got to do it. Like, I don't know how, but just trust me. Like, go look at a wall, think about yourself, you know, write down what you don't like and change it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, but how? So there's people right now thinking, this all sounds kick-ass, dude. Other than going and checking out your coaching and your programs, how would one like say, I want to do this on my own. I want to get some immediate results. Yeah. Are there such a thing as immediate results?
I think there can be an immediate shift that can create results. I mean, to give a result, one, it's a matter of what's the result you want. I can't see your problems. Like, result, yeah, I'm going to give a result. You're going to feel better tonight. Or you may feel crappy.
But nothing changes tomorrow.
It doesn't change. And you shouldn't want it to change tomorrow.
I always tell people like 60 to 90 days of consistent action is usually when you start to feel a little bit of a change.
Yeah, you will. And you got to fall in love with because science shows like for habits, like if something is more gratifying and you find some joy in it, you'll continue to do it. If not, you're not going to do it. Even if you need to do it, but people don't find joy in the hard things because they're looking for the joy at the end of what the hard thing brings them, as opposed to falling in love with the hard thing. And it's this weird like thing for me of like workouts, for example. My youngest son right now, he's 11. I got him in the gym just moving around a little bit, bands and body weight stuff. But you can see in his face he hates it. And I keep reiterating, it's supposed to suck, but love it. Find a joy within it. Like, I hate doing the hard workouts, but you find this, like, I have a joy of, like, I get to get better today. And it sounds so like, oh, get better today. But no, I know the moment when I don't want to do anything, and then I push past that wall and get the next set done, the next rep, and I feel even worse. I feel a little better. Like, I feel a little more invincible, you know? And it's like, and that's my joy. That's my immediate, like, positive. But here's the thing I'm looking at is, like, if I got to run a triathlon, I'm doing a half Ironman, I'm doing a flag football tournament next week, right? At the end of the day, if I'm only looking at, I'm trying to be better for the tournament, I'm looking too far off to find any joy, so I will stop on the way. At some point, I'm going to fall short of it, and then I'm going to feel bad in that thing, make an excuse, and not like myself, and it just goes downhill. But if I just love, like, the hard workout today, and I find joy in that, well, I'm going to do it again the next day, and then I'll show up at that day, and I'll ball, and I'll feel great, and I'll make plays, and I'll feel even better going home. And I think few people get that. Like, they don't latch down to the idea, like, it's not supposed to be enjoyable today. But you can't mentally fight it every day. Because if you consistently fight it and don't embrace it, you will stop doing this thing that will get you the success you want.
What books did you read that you can call back and say, man, you should read this book?
Oh, man. One of the first one was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think that was one of the ones that opened my mind up to like, it kind of like a decoder for the rest of like what I needed to absorb. Because I absorbed some stuff that's crap. I think that's the mark of a wise man to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it, right? So I didn't realize what that meant. And so that whole concept of seek first to understand, then be understood. Like I do a lot of seeking first to understand, just as a regular kind of practice of humanity. But then when I realize I want to talk to somebody, have a conversation, they are not going to listen to me if they don't think that I understand them. So I spend time in that realm, and that helped me figure out, okay, how do I handle relationships? How do I handle the business? How do I, all these little things. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, like logotherapy concept, like that was really good of me understanding the meaning of my crazy. Like he was in an internment camp, like he was, an internment. Yeah, he was in, I think it was a concentration camp, sorry. But like he went through a lot of stuff. His work was destroyed, people would die, and he just had this concept of giving meaning to the moments. So that for me is like, man, if that guy could go through all of that and come out and have, like he kept his notes, like he was able to hold on a lot of these things. Like I could find meaning in my crazy, right? And I think that some people, they get what's unfortunately called shelf esteem. They buy something, they put it on the shelf and they feel good because it's there. I'll get to it at some point. But for me, like I get things and I consume them almost immediately. And I realized that I need to do that because I have had moments where I've got, 6 months down and didn't open this thing. And then I went and read it and I'm like, damn it. If I'd have known this 3 months ago, it could have changed X, Y, and Z. So like when I buy things, like I'm big on getting them into my head as fast as I can, and then it allows me to be better. But I think a lot of people don't do that, so that they don't get the information. They can't have this concept of, okay, there's meaning to my life, and that helps me go in the trajectory I'm going now. So I'm kind of going on a little side shoot, but I think when I go back to it, those are a couple of the books at the beginning really helped me kind of open the mind to perceive things differently.
Now, you're based in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, that city has gone to serious
Decline. It's bad.
I don't understand. What do you, being a San Franciscan, think that it is?
It's poor leadership and government level, man. It just is. It's just too many things.
But you said they have clean, what do they call them?
Clean injection centers are doing now.
Yeah, now let's talk about that. Clean injection centers, which means you can come here to break the law.
Yep. Protected, clean needles and everything. You're protected in this environment to come here and get,
and they don't arrest them.
No.
Isn't it against the law?
Oh, it's 100% against the law.
Then how come they're allowing them to do it? That's like saying, listen, if you come here and murder babies, as long as you use sterile knives and whatnot, you can come here and murder babies.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It's a joke of like they're probably putting a polling center up next door. My guess is that they can vote still. Can still vote. And I don't know, who they're voting for. Probably the ones that are going to let them do that. And on top of that, I think there is the aspect of there's a lot of just dirty needles floating around town. And
so what, though? That doesn't matter. Like, and people are probably listening to me going, dude, doing drugs isn't the same as killing babies. Technically, I'm making a point that breaking the law is breaking the law. You either broke the law or you didn't.
Sin's a sin, yeah.
And if I'm the government, which is technically the law, and I say, here, it's against the law to shoot needles, but you can do it here. Well, again, is it against the law or not? And if it is, well, then they shouldn't be allowed to do it there, and I shouldn't be hosting you to break the law.
I agree.
So all of those people, in my opinion, should be fired. Or if everyone voted and changed the law, well, then it's just a nice place to do it, but they changed the law. Like, hey, I'm not opposed to changing the law. You want to let it be legal in California? Go ahead.
Yeah.
But you can't say it's illegal.
To give them a place to do it.
And then the government decides to let you do it legally in their shop. I wonder what the thought is there.
I could not tell you. I think it's another, I don't think they do it intentionally, but it's a divisive thing. It pulls us apart.
Do you plan on moving soon?
Oh, we're moving to Texas in like a year and a half.
I was going to say, because anyone that doesn't move out of California, I think, is because they're not making enough money.
Yeah, that must be it. Yeah.
Well, why would you stay? Last time I was in San Francisco, and I loved that town. That was a cool town.
Place. Yeah.
It smelled like piss everywhere I went. I'm like, dude, it literally smells like urine.
Yeah, it's tough. It does. Not a clean place. I love the city. I love California. I just don't love what's happening to it.
People are leaving by the droves.
But I think the first time in 20 years, there's been more people leaving than have come in.
Why are you waiting a year and a half?
My son has to graduate from his high school. It's a private high school that he's loved. You ever De La Salle had like the longest running football streak or had it?
No, but that's a good reason.
Yeah,
you can pay a little more money, deal with the nonsense.
Yeah, but he loves us. He's got a great brotherhood of kids there, and it's a good environment, really good place for him to be. I kid you not, if he was not doing school physically, we actually almost moved if it was going to be 100% online. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to pay for you to go on. I'll put you in the JC and a junior college nearby online if we're going to do that. But they did open a school back up, so we're going to be going back to school. But we were going to be out of here. We bought a house in Texas a few months back. I mean, it's just sitting there. So I'm ready to go whenever time comes.
If I were Newsom, I'd open my eyes and start to realize, like, folks, like, I think I see California going down unless something changes.
Yeah, it is. It already is. There's people leaving. People know. I mean, this conversation, this will plant a seed that someone may talk about somewhere in a dark moment that we don't see of like, hey, we want to go to California. Nah, it's not a good place. I heard so-and-so told me he watched this podcast and this guy said da-da-da-da. Yeah, I don't know.
Or visit.
Yeah.
But you're not getting my taxes if I visit.
Yeah, not at all. And the taxes, man, it's crazy. I don't have to be anywhere. I seriously, I have a studio at the house. That's where I'm like, I could be in China as far as I know, anywhere. I don't have to be in California paying those income taxes. So it's like, I'm going to go to a place that has no income tax.
Well, Texas is a good spot.
Beautiful.
Nashville is where my wife wants to move to. So I'm thinking about Nashville. Of course, we're tax-free here. So not tax-free, period. But you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Folks, listen, I mean, I could get into a million conversations with you. I almost want to get into the faith conversation because there's a lot of people out there. I started looking into a lot of things, and especially, of Christian faith, they talk about Jesus. If you do any research at all, you'll realize that wasn't his name.
I don't know this. No.
Yeah, that wasn't his name. His name was Yahshua.
Oh yeah, I know that much.
Okay, so his name was Yahshua, which today would be Joshua, and then Yahshua is changed to Jesus, and they tell you the reasons why, but the reasons why are not necessarily making any sense. But if you really do some research, you start to think like, why is that happening?
Yeah, translation. It's man. It's always human and men giving their translations of things I read. That's why there's multiple different versions.
Well, not only that, but if you believe in the Bible or the Scripture, then it says that the devil will deceive the whole world.
Yeah.
Are you part of that?
Could be.
Well, you're part of the world, aren't you?
Part of the world.
The Scripture says the devil will deceive us all. It doesn't say all but one. It says he'll deceive us all.
No, I mean, the thing is, in my head, I'm like, no, but you don't know me from Adam in a way, you know? It's a very interesting thing. I think the funny thing that I get this conversation a lot because I am a man of faith, and I say that, right? So I'm a guy people talk to, and I'm totally cool with it. I've had some really interesting conversations in this area. But what I do explain to people is this, like, I have a belief. It's my belief. And there are people who will go and burn and blow up buildings on their belief, and it's totally cool. It's just not Anthony. But they say there's no God, no Jesus whatsoever. I live my life in a biblical way, right? And I do good things. People feel better in interactions with me. So even if there is no God, if I get to the end of my life and I just die and I go off into the middle of nowhere, I'll still feel like I lived a good life.
Sure.
And that's how I frame my faith in a specific way. I have a relationship that I believe exists with my God. My family follows these biblical principles. We do things good by people, but I'm not going to come in here and throw a Bible on the table and say, you've got to do what I got to do my way. Some will.
Are you familiar with the Ten Commandments?
Yeah, I don't know all of them, but yeah, I'm familiar.
Have you heard, don't take the Lord's name in vain?
Yeah.
Do you know what vain means?
What does it mean?
It means to make meaningless or useless.
Interesting.
Yeah, so go look at that and say, okay, so I'm not supposed to make his name meaningless or useless.
Yeah.
How much more meaningless and useless can you make a name just by never using it?
It's a good way to think of it.
Well, yeah, because his name's not Jesus, and it's never been Jesus. It was Yahshua. So again, I'm hunting right now because
I could tell.
I just want the answers. But at the end of the day, you start looking down these rabbit holes, like even Easter, even Christmas. Like we celebrate Christmas. What for?
Well, it's supposed to be his birth, but it's a holiday that's made for money nowadays.
Yeah, but you see my point? It's supposed to be his birth, but every biblical scholar knows that it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, but we celebrate it,
yeah.
and it's not. It's not his birthday, number one.
I agree. I know that much at least.
Easter, what are we celebrating?
His rising.
His rising.
Yeah.
He didn't rise on a Sunday.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Yeah, people know.
It's a weird thing.
Go hunt and research. There's biblical scholars that will tell you he didn't rise on a Sunday.
What day did he rise? I'm curious.
Well, technically, if the Sabbath dinner and he was supposed to be in the ground for 3 days and 3 nights, like he was in the belly of the whale, right? That would make it Saturday.
So that's why I think there's is it Mormons that celebrate on Saturday? There's one religion that celebrates Saturday. I think that's
I know Jews do, and guess what? He was a Jew.
He was a Jew, and the Jews killed him. Yeah. It's a very interesting thing because because there would be people like I have in my life. My pastor, it's a buddy of mine. I was just helping him to like hope his whole front yard get done. But there's people that get into this stuff, and it's weird because what ends up happening is like I'm not a biblical scholar. Like I'm not going to sit here and argue. I've even gone down the depths of you're going down in the opposite way, right? But also I've read throughout the Bible, but not straight through it. And so I find that there's always these counteractive things, and it always goes back to the word of like, all right, well, I just have to see what's my belief. And it's tough because even then, now it's a belief based on how man has decided to interpret things.
That's right.
And that's the hard part, in man or imperfect.
And I subscribe to what you said earlier, where if you're just a good dude, do the right thing, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now, when you start going down these rabbit holes, though, it's pretty crazy what you see. And I think it's, to me, interesting. Like Easter, there's actually God, Ishtar. People are like, that's Ishtar. No, it's pronounced Easter. But when Easter was the god of war and fertility. Love and fertility. So we're celebrating Easter, right? That's why there's bunnies and eggs.
Yeah. Which don't tie to it at all.
And Christmas, by the way, was the birthday supposedly of the son of basically the sun god Horus. So the son of that god was Horus, supposedly. And again, people are like, well, there are all these gods. There's only one God. Well, God himself says, thou shalt not have no other gods before me.
Yeah.
So there must have been other whatever you call deities. But point being, and whether you're in mythology, Greek mythology, or the sun worshipers, there were a lot of different religions back then.
Yeah.
And Easter was literally celebrated. It has nothing to do with the resurrection. It was celebrated, and it was basically orgies.
Yeah.
And 9 months later, they had babies, right? It takes 9 months to have a baby. So they had orgies on Easter. 9 months later, coincidentally, is Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's Christmas. So the births that were born on Christmas.
Before, actually. This is actually ringing a bell as you talk through this. For some reason, this does ring a bell from something I've heard before.
Well, Christmas was the son of was Horus's birthday, actual birthday.
Yeah.
And guess how they honored that god? They sacrificed babies. Mm. So you think, as a Christian, we're walking around, we're celebrating Easter.
Yeah.
Which is basically having sex and whatnot, literally back in the day. Now it's chocolate bunnies and the resurrection, when in reality, what if it isn't?
Yeah.
What if you're celebrating something you shouldn't be and you don't even know it, because we've been going by what we've heard for hundreds of years and hundreds of years and hundreds of years. So I just like to research back because it's interesting. And I like to bring up politics and religion because most people say you never do that.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. It's because it's one of those things where, like, you're right. Like, if you were to go to the root of it, Halloween or Columbus Day, there's so many different things of, like, these are horrible things. It's weird because the way I look at it is it's odd, because if society has, we'll say, forgotten the root of it and we're celebrating it in a specific light, then I think that the meaning of it is a meaning we've placed upon it. Just like life, no moment has a meaning except the meaning I place upon it. You cut me off in traffic, you hate me, I'm going to cut you off. Or like you're trying to get to your wife, she's sick, right? It's the meaning we place upon it. So I think when a lot of people look at Easter and look at Christmas, minus the shopping
with good intention.
It's good intentions. It's the meaning we've placed upon what it is and what we do with that meaning, right? So,
right. Well, I'm hoping that's the facts, because if that's the way it is, it's intention, cool. But when I'm reading the commandments and he says, don't make my name meaningless.
Yeah.
And then I
use the wrong name.
Well, I just stop using it. So I technically am violating that. Don't have any other gods before me, but yet I celebrate Easter, which is Ishtar. Mm-hmm. I celebrate Christmas, which is not his birthday. Mm-hmm. I'm celebrating all these things that technically he's saying not to do. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are named after Greek gods.
Yeah.
So it's like, I believe you can't be, I don't think you're going to get punished because you were unaware. I'm just looking and trying to get aware. Mm-hmm. I even went and bought the website URL, youbetterknowhisname.com. Yeah. Because if you look at some of the scripture, dude, one of it says, you'll know my children because they'll know my name.
Know my name. He does say that.
And then I say, what's his name? People say Jesus. Mm-hmm. Jesus. And first of all, God and Jesus, they're the same. Well, again, do your research. It's not necessarily true.
I was just reading that actually in the Bible last week.
But God, the actual, let's call it the big man,
the
one who resurrected Jesus, mm-hmm. God, he has a name. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
See what I'm saying?
Besides God, I mean, it's
God, not God. God is a title, and it actually originated from the word goad and goat. Mm. And if you look at a pentagram with the goat in the middle, that's paganism.
It is.
We're calling him goat, which again, that's a title. His name, he used to put in the scripture over 7,000 times, and I'm not going to try and say it perfectly because I don't know if this is the right pronunciation, but it's Yahuwah or Yahweh or Yahweh.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Right, so that's God's name, but
it's interesting because you hear all the versions of it. And I think societally we put it all together.
Well, we don't say it a lot, which again technically is breaking that commandment. Yeah. Which most people think, if I say, "God damn it," that's taking the Lord's name in vain. First of all, that's not his name.
So it's nothing.
That's his title. Secondly, that's not what vain means. Vain means don't make it meaningless or useless, and we are doing it by saying God because that's not his name.
Interesting way to look at it,
folks. Now, I'm not preaching. Well, I'm not preaching because I'll tell you what, I don't know this to be true, and I don't know, but I'm researching, and I invite people to actually research, and here's why. Yeah. Look at the scripture. Seek, and ye shall find. Me telling you, hey, his name's Jesus, and you say, okay, praise Jesus. That's not seeking.
No, it's listening.
That's listening and doing basically what you heard. Mm-hmm. Seek and ye shall find. I'm just seeking. I'm just doing what I'm told.
It's interesting because I look at those. I do watch some of these weird documentaries. I haven't gone and looked at all the depths of stuff you have, obviously, but you get dig into holes, and then I get to the point of like, all right, is this going to uproot everything I believe? And I'll go down the path. I'll entertain the ideas, and the deeper you go, it's like, man, it spans so far. It's like I don't know which hole this will end in, or if it will ever end.
And you know why people stop digging? Because of what you just said. The fear of going, oh, is this going to make me change my belief?
Yeah, and I'm cool with that. So I don't. Yeah, I don't
but the crazy part is it doesn't. If you're a normal Christian, when I say normal, you know what the Christians all believe. Because I was raised Christian and well, technically Catholic in the first couple, but then mainly Christian. But I've also studied the Quran. I've also looked into Buddhism. So I'm just looking around and looking at all the things. And what's crazy is that they all come back to one.
They do
Literally source of truth, which is crazy if you think about that.
That is crazy. So there's some congruencies and some realities there. It's just which one's the right one. We were reading the other day, and I always have this thought in the back of my head of like, I feel very confident in my religion and my belief of what it is. And somebody else feels the exact same way in the opposite or in a different area.
That's right.
That's why I've realized for me, it's like I do share my faith with people who ask, those who want to have a question, like, how are you?
What is your faith?
Man of faith, Christian man, yeah.
So
when I look at like what I tell them what my beliefs are, but I never go in the route of saying it's the only belief you should ever have, because who am I as a human man, to tell you that, right? I know my beliefs and how they guide my thoughts and my actions throughout my life and how I treat people. And that's what I've anchored down to. But I have gone the depths, having deep conversations with, I've been in some weird realms with weird people, and I say weird, but it's just abnormal. We'll call it different for me. Not weird bad, but it's cool because like those are the ones that allow me to entertain ideas that really, they even give me a better sense of what's going on in my own life and how I see things. And it's kind of cool. And so I don't like discount it. I like what you're saying. I like this stuff. This is good for me to be able to absorb, and I will go like Google things and I'll get lost.
Go look it up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change a Christian faith. It fine tunes one.
Yeah.
Because like imagine you're doing an old radio and you hear the music, but it's got that fuzz.
Yeah.
It's not quite as clear, and then you tune it just a smidge, and now all of a sudden you're hearing it perfectly.
Yeah.
It could be that.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, the scriptures are there. You can go read them. There's Septuagint Bibles. There's Bibles that are before the Bible. They were scriptures.
Yeah.
So again, the scriptures, technically, if you go back to the source,
the scrolls, all that stuff. Yeah.
like they had his name over 7,000 times, talking about God's. Jesus was not Jesus. It was Yahshua. And their whole, why the name? It's the transliteration of the word Yahshua, but technically it's not. No, it isn't. Like, go look. That's not true.
It is Yahshua. It's a specific name we turned into something else to make it easier to pronounce, probably.
Well, again, you'll hear a million reasons why. Go ask pastor buddies of yours or people they'll tell, oh, well, that was the transliteration or the translation of the, no, it wasn't. Number one, go do the research. No, that's not true. But we did change his name.
Yeah.
Now, why did we change his name? And who's we is the question I have.
Yeah.
And then I start to realize, well, if you look at the scripture and you believe it at all, well, then you must believe in the devil. You can't believe in God without believing in the devil.
100%.
Okay, so if you believe in the devil, and you must, could he have done it? Could he have caused human beings to write out the name, delete the name so we quit using it? But yet when you look at the scripture, it says, call upon my name.
Yeah.
If you need me, call upon my name. Not throw out a name that you intend
Sounds
to be
good.
mine.
Yeah, sounds like one.
Because we go back to intention, which I deeply agree with, which is no one's going to hell because they said Jesus their whole life. They just didn't seek and they didn't find.
Yeah.
I think intention, well, like you said, the meaning we put on the name might as well be saying Yahshua. Why? Well, because if he's that kind and loving, he's going to realize that's who he means.
Giving it reverence.
Yeah, and I think that's going to basically be the end result, which is, you're safe. But it's interesting to think. Commandments are pretty simple, bro. They're not rocket science. Hey, don't make my name meaningless, and then you go do it.
Yeah, not even use it.
Don't have other gods. Don't worship other idols, but you do it every single holiday season. Like, we're breaking these commandments
without even knowing it.
Even knowing it. Now,
without even knowing it.
And who is smart enough to cause us to do that? Perhaps Lucifer, perhaps Beelzebub. Anyway,
it's not bad
people
logic.
People are like, dude, I didn't know Brad was religious. Well, I'm not necessarily religious. To me, religious is different.
Religion is a man. It's a man thing, right?
Yeah.
To have a faith is different, but religions are man-made. So you can be religious, but in a sense of educating yourself on terms that would be tied to some sort of religion.
Dude, and I hope everyone listening to this goes and checks out Anthony at Anthony Trucks on Instagram, anthonytrucks.com. Listen to his podcast, Shift.
Shift, man.
The Real Shift.
Yeah.
Is your blog.
The blog, yeah.
Podcasts are free. You guys can hear more stuff from him and his guests by just subscribing. I'd go subscribe, comment now.
Check it out.
Share this out, by the way. If you guys didn't need to hear this, trust me, somebody you know does. Oh, yeah, dude. To me, it's like, this is a good episode. Why? Because if someone just listens, takes a little action, they will get that shift. And they will, and I'll bet you anything, they're going to start getting the shift they're looking for instead of living their life with the shift that they don't want.
They'll make shift happen.
They can make shift happen. Dude, I appreciate you coming in.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks
spending the time. I like your visions. And I look forward to your next book, man. When's that come out?
May 18th.
May 18th. Where do they go get it? Can they pre-order it?
I don't think you can pre-order it yet. No, I can't. I'm actually meeting my publisher today. We're going to tackle that conversation, actually, but can't yet. But soon, very soon. And then, you'll be able to get it in Barnes & Nobles and Target and all the fun places.
Right on. Folks, as always, till next time, keep it real.